I would like to welcome you to Monica Angelatos, and she is the co-owner of Be Yoga and Wellness Studio in Burlington, Ontario, Canada. And I love her. We have become dear friends and just offers so much to her community. She has a big heart, and I know that you are going to just love meeting her as much as I always love sharing time and talks with her. So welcome, Monica.
Aw, Linda, thank you so much. I totally love and adore you right back.
Yeah, you're just so sweet. I I know that you are from Winnipeg, Canada, and you have come here. What kind of skill sets did you bring when you came into Be Yoga and Wellness? Because I know that you have had your hand in the studios,
Mhm.
different studios all over the place, and you've lived all over the world,
Yeah,
actually. But
yeah.
what particular skill sets do you think really accredit your studio as you really invite and embrace the whole
Mm.
essence of Be Yoga and Wellness?
Wow, what a great question. Well, I mean, I've been in this industry for a long, long time, and before I was even in it in a professional way, I knew it to be true for myself. I understood that, understanding myself, mindfulness, my body, and moving my body, moving energy, having a relationship with the energy around me, and being able to manipulate the energy within my own body can help in my overall sense of well-being and my healing. I've actually had a healing experience where by through I guess you could say visualization and connecting to my body on a deep way, and like through meditation and with intention, I was able to release trapped energy in my body to help me heal. And this was really kind of the foundation. My own sort of healing journey was the foundation to my yoga teaching. So then I wanted to learn more about how to move my body and how to work with the energy. When I talk about energy, I'm just talking about pranic energy or chi energy. We are all made up of energy. So it's not this abstract thing. I know that, we don't it sounds a little taboo, but maybe less and less these days. I think more and more people are talking about energy and recognizing that we are just pure energy, and that often if the body is in kind of a shrunken state, that it can create a blockage in the body. So for example, if you like, let's say you get into a little fender bender, and I don't know if you've ever had that experience where your body goes into shock because you were startled by this, your heart jumps out of your chest, and then your whole body tenses up. And then we get what we call whiplash, and that's the muscles essentially going into this state of being a holding pattern of tension. And then that causes all kinds of problems. So that's just like one way or one example of how like the body can hold on to this tension in terms of it's like data that's stored in the tissues of the body. And so then the body we need to know how to be able to release that stress, to release that tension, to release the anxiety, to release the fear, to release the trauma, or whatever it is. It could be a physical trauma, an emotional trauma, or a mental trauma that we are holding in our bodies. And so then I knew that in my case, it was definitely a trauma that I was holding on to in my body that was unprocessed. And so I was able to, through my meditation, through my visualization, and through my intention, and by changing the way that I was feeling. So this is truly a call to love, right? Because you're learning how to change your energy, right? To attune it to the frequency of love. Essentially, it's just love. Like, I love that you call your podcast that, because essentially everything is just pure love, really. It comes right down to that. And so if you can really tap into the frequency of love, you can shift it all. And so essentially that is what I did for myself. But there's so many other things that you can do. And so the yoga piece, the mindfulness piece, these are all just tools by which you can use to tune into your body and to be able to release the stuck energy so that you can be free from it. And so yoga is definitely one way, because quite literally you're stretching the muscles, the tissues, the fascia. The fascia can tend to, as the muscles tighten, the fascial network also shrinks up. And so with the movement, we're able to literally loosen it up. You're drawing in moisture, you're getting things nice and juicy and kind of spongy, and then you're able to intentionally, with awareness and with intention and with breath, to move it, to quite literally loosen the stuck energy. So your fascial network, in fact, has the ability to store information, it transmits information, and it receives information. So your fascia it receives, it stores, and it transmits information. And so if we can tap into that, then we can release stored energy that's not really serving us any good, right? And so
So
we
true.
essentially move it out. Yeah. Yeah. So the yoga, so basically, I was sure, like, I mean, I've done so many, as you know, as you have yourself, like so many trainings, whether it's the, countless hours of yoga teacher training, or of yin teacher training, or yoga nidra training, or hypnotherapy training, or, all the restorative training, whatever these things are. I mean, they all sort of come together, and then, create this really beautiful toolbox that we can tap into. And we all have similar toolboxes, maybe a little bit different, but that's kind of like my toolbox. Yeah. And then of course the studio. So I think my job now is more so around, recognizing other people's toolboxes and just being, oh my God, you gotta be here. You gotta be here with me. I love you so much. My community needs you. I need you. I love you. And let's do this together. So I'm like, I've got my own little toolbox, but I also love all the people sort of close to me and close to the studio with their toolboxes as well. And I love having the space to be able, the little hub of love, to be able to share that with the community.
I think that's so true. I think what happens is that people come to yoga or to a studio or to any place that really focuses on the body to maybe possibly start exercising. And then they begin to realize that, oh, I'm actually feeling a little better in my mind. My mood is improving. My relationships are improving. So there's a shift. And they
Totally.
don't need to know. You don't need to know exactly why that's happening. Just kind of embrace it and then see which area really resonates with you. Because I think a well-rounded community of wellness, such as Be Yoga and Wellness, and even Aigida, is that you can come together and choose which really speaks to you in order to move your body, to move the energy, to release the stored trauma or stress or anxiety or pain. And then, it is a call for love. It's a call to live better in our bodies.
That's right. Yeah. It's really honoring life. It's living better in your body, but this body is just really a vessel, and we don't want to have the distractions of the ailing body, which prevent us from enjoying and appreciating living life and feeling grateful to be alive, to have this experience in this world at this time right now. And so, the body piece and the emotional piece and the mind piece is like bringing all these aspects of ourselves into this perfect harmony and balance, so that we can just stay in that state of gratitude and love, and just really appreciating our existence in this world.
What do you say? Because I could agree completely. What do you say when people say, I can't stand yoga? it's too slow. What do you say to
Yeah.
that?
Well, I mean, there are different styles of yoga, but I would say, especially to those there, I mean, there are different styles of yoga that are more vigorous. You know, you could go to a power yoga class, or you could go to a vinyasa class, which is, faster paced moving and a little bit more vigorous. And a hatha is definitely, can be really challenging as well. I mean, if you've ever been to Maureen's class, you would know that she can really wring you out in a very gentle, kind, and loving way. And you'll often see me in those classes because I love being pushed to that place. But I mean, you might hit up a class that's a little bit gentler, or a class has total stillness, like in a restorative class. You're not moving a lot, but the person that's going to go to a restorative class and doesn't really have any idea of what they're getting themselves into is going to struggle with that, because there's so much momentum in their minds. They're so sped up from their day that if they come into this stillness suddenly, all that momentum just kind of keeps going. And it's almost as though the mind is like driving you crazy. You can't find stillness. And there's so much resistance to relaxing. But if you can come to the class with that awareness, and then you challenge yourself to remember how to relax, because our nervous systems, and especially in this day and age, we don't even realize that our baseline of our normal state has the baseline of that has changed. Like, we're all functioning out of fight or flight for the majority of our day, whether we recognize it or not. So that means that we're constantly releasing stress hormones and flooding our bodies with stress hormones. And this is, in fact, taking its toll on our overall health and well-being. So it could literally shorten your lifespan because you're in a state of stress all the time. And so we've forgotten how to relax. It's not just a matter of relaxing. We've forgotten of how to just be. So people now feel stress and feel anxious all the time, and that becomes their normal state of being. They don't even realize that I had this big moment one time when I was going through a stressful period in my life, but for like an extended period of time. And it was kind of like this buzz inside, like just that kind of underlying current of anxiousness. Right. And I'd wake up that way, I'd go to sleep that way, I'd wake up that way, I'd go to sleep that way. And throughout the day, it would just be like that. And then I remember at one point when I started to do a lot of mindfulness work, and I had this moment in my car in the absence of that buzz, you know, and I remember kind of looking for it. I'm like, it's not there. And it was the first time that I realized that I had sort of come back to my normal state of being. But prior to that, I was just in this other place where that anxiousness was just constantly there. And I sort of had that moment. And then I really, like, it was just the polarity of it, like it was just so profound, and then I really knew like how important it was to be able to remember what it feels like to just be in that normal state of being. And I try to kind of weave that into almost every single class that I teach as a little reminder for people to just check in with, like, how are you feeling? Like, what is going on in your heart? What is going on in your mind? And it's just a level of awareness, right? Bringing awareness to it. And that's kind of the starting point, is just being aware. And when you can bring awareness to it, then you have the ability to it's at the starting point. The shift it has already started, just by being aware, you're already there. It's like taking that first step through that, the precipice. Yeah.
I think
Awareness
that's
is
really,
key.
I really think and I say this all the time on A Call for Love, it's all about being aware. If you are in a place that is not where you're not feeling great, as long as you're aware of it, and then, maybe yoga is the place for you. Maybe you go for a run, or maybe you go for a walk, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
but creating that awareness and then doing something. And I often say to people, if yoga is something that they don't do and they're kind of resistant to it, I said, well, maybe try it. Maybe try a relaxing class when you're not feeling so great. And I don't mean sick so that you're going to spread germs. I mean, when you're kind of feeling low or depressed, because then you're a little bit more open to trying new things. And that little stillness might be just the self-compassion that you need in order to hold
Right.
space for your emotions to move through them. So if you're like, oh, gung ho, and you're a runner and you got all that adrenaline, maybe yoga is not the time. But maybe when you're
That's right.
feeling a little low, like after a death, somebody passes away, or there's something, a loss, I feel like there's a little bit more willingness, a little bit being more
Yeah.
open.
Yeah. But with awareness, if you could approach it, you could approach trying yoga with that level of awareness. And I think that it will allow you to open up to this whole new world. So, because like often I'll have people come to a restorative class, and if they just come kind of blindly, then they hate their first class and they'll never return again. They'll never come again because they weren't able to get into that stillness. But if you come to the class with the awareness that this is just part of the process, I'm sped up, I've got all this anxious energy, it needs to go through its course, that whole momentum, I have to let it kind of spin itself out. And then once I can get myself to that state, you're going to have the most incredible experience where you can feel your nervous system releasing. You can feel the tingling sensation surfacing to the surface of your skin. It's like an effervescent feeling, and you just feel so light and so relaxed, and you can just see it in people's faces. They take these pictures of before and after, with the wrinkles and the hard lines of people coming into, mindfulness practice or meditation or restorative, and then they leave and they're literally floating out of the room, and their face is smooth and open and their hearts are open, and it's just incredible. And now they can go back into their worlds and their lives and, be in the center of the storm of whatever their life has swirling around them.
It's so true. And, if you have tried yoga or meditation or any form years and years ago, then maybe it's time to just try it again, right? Maybe it's a
Yeah.
new opportunity. We're always changing, we're always growing. And if you are a seasoned yogi and there's a class or a form of yoga that you have not tried, maybe try it again, because maybe it's a different time in your life, maybe it's a different guide,
Right.
whatever it is. You never know how you're going to receive it, but just kind of being open to that.
Well, it's interesting that you say that. I always, when there's resistance on the part of the student, I'm always sort of suggesting that they inquire as to what their aversions and preferences are. And so when we start to look at, like, what is the thing that we don't like doing, like what are the hard lines for us, and then you sort of like dig into that a little bit deeper, that's where the individual will have the greatest, biggest breakthroughs in their lives. When you start to look at the things that, when you catch yourself saying, I hate that, I don't like that, or when there's so much resistance to a particular thing, that is such a huge thing. It's like those are the biggest opportunities, and you'll have the greatest, biggest shifts in your life. So if you don't like something, inquire, why don't I like that? And can I reframe it? Can I look at it in a different way? Can I put myself in, in that position or in that person's shoes? Or, can I observe this from a different angle or a different perspective? And it's just, that is the opportunity for absolute growth.
It's so funny you saying that, because I just think back in the day, I hated Brussels sprouts, hated Brussels sprouts, because I always had them steamed and it was like, right? And then it was like 20, 30 years later, I made these Kung Pao Brussels sprouts and they had this great sauce and they're in the oven and they're crispy. Oh my
Mm,
goodness, I can't get enough of Brussels
yeah.
sprouts.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting. We have sometimes that we participated in anything. And in this case, we're talking about the realm of yoga, which is very big. Uh, and we're just inviting it in again. And you're right. Just when you are so resistant at something, it's really something to look at. It's a call for love. I always say this. I always bring it in again. It's a call for love,
Right.
a call to really look. And I don't like to say change your mind, but just be open. If you could soften and be open, what else can we ask more of ourselves?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And of course, I always say yoga is interesting because one of my emails is Linda Orsini Yoga. And I was thinking of changing it, but yoga, I don't think of yoga as asanas, and asanas are shapes and poses. I think of it as a philosophy, which it is, which is yoke to union. So
That's right.
I know that we both share this passion like crazy, but what do you think when you think of the word yoga without the asanas, without the shapes, in terms of the essence of it? What do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, even within the philosophy, so we teach this all the time, the yoga is the asana part is literally one of 8 limbs. So Patanjali's Yoga Sutras is an ancient text, and in it, he discusses these 8 limbs, the 8 limbs of Patanjali. So the asana part is just one aspect. So you've got the yamas and niyamas. These are ways of conducting yourself. It's kind of like the 10 Commandments when I think about the yamas and niyamas. Like, how do you behave? Like, what do you do for yourself in order to sort of act in a proper way? And then, so the moral conduct and an ethical conduct, these are sort of guides to living well, right? So you've got yamas, niyamas, then you've got your pranayama, you've got asana, you've got meditation, then there are 3 stages of meditation. So these are all sort of the ways by which these are the ways that you conduct yourself in the world, and the way that you're behaving, the way that you treat your body, your breath work and your meditation all help you in this process of evolving as a human being, of becoming a better person. And by becoming a better person, like that perfection that we're striving for, we are taught that it's already within us. We are already born, our essence, that purity is still there, that love, it's essentially love. And so, but when we're born, then, you know, we're going through all these things in life. There's so many things that can cause us to shrink up, to become bitter, to become hard. And the practice is teaching us how to, it's like peeling those layers away and coming back to that true essence so that we can find our own perfection. And the practice leads us through these various stages, and asana is just a part of it. It's just one way. We can do it through pranayama, we can do it through meditation, and then through all the stages of meditation as we go up to the state of samadhi, which is union with what? Union with love. Some will call it God, but like literally God is just love. Do you know? So I mean, in different traditions and different philosophies and different religions, I mean, yoga is not a religion. It literally is a way of life. It's a philosophy. So we don't really refer to God, but I mean, it's just another word. Do you know? It's just another word for love. And so
I love that. But, I want to say that I am so passionate about yoga. It's really interesting. And my husband said to me once, Cord says to me, okay, what do you love more, yoga or me?
well,
And
if I love yoga, I love you.
And I said, no, I love you more because of yoga. That's what I said. It makes me a better
It is
person.
all encompassing, Linda. So your husband is within it. So you can't possibly not love him. If you're in a state of love, you're in a state of love, and that state of oneness. When we get to that state of oneness, that samadhi, it encompasses everything. right? And because you are in a pure state of love, and which means that nothing can be outside of that. It includes everything, including your hubby. Gord.
It's so true. It was fun, but that's right. People say to me, I'm all about love. And it sounds a little woo-woo, it sounds a little flighty, it sounds a little airy, but really, it's really just connecting with union, with ourselves, with yoga. And the vehicle for me, there's many paths to liberation. And so
That's
my
right.
path has been through the yogic world. And I have met incredible people. Well, I can't imagine my life without it. But the thing is that it's always available to us. We carry it within our hearts. We carry it. And that's why I'm so passionate about meditation, because of course, as you know, I don't need to tell you, but asanas were created to prepare the body for meditation. And asanas, once again, are poses. And pranayama, just in case people don't know, is breath work.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, it's a complete package if you think about it. So you're moving the body. The pranayama, yes, it's breath, but pranayama also refers to prana also refers to life force energy. So life force energy is outside of us and it is within us, right? The energy. And so when we're working with breath, we're working with life force energy. Life force energy is essentially God. Life force energy. And I know it's so weird to like say that because, I know like in, the times that we live in, and it's like, some people might get might not like hearing that term, but it's literally just life force energy. It's all around us. And when we're drawing it in through breath, it's fueling our bodies. It's moving through the lungs, into the heart, into the bloodstream, into every single cell of your body. And so it's when we're communing with it constantly, in and out, breathing in and out, there's a relationship with this pranic field of energy. And when we're moving our body and breathing and we're opening up all these pathways in the body, you're inviting that energy in you. And so that's what's getting things kind of unstuck, and you're able to release, and you're cleansing and clearing and eliminating and making space for making space for all that pranic energy to do all that beautiful work inside. It's healing.
It's so
Yeah.
healing. And as you know, in Shavasana, the ending pose, the dead person's pose, as they say, how many people have we witnessed with tears in their eyes?
Oh, yeah. And especially when you truly allow yourself to surrender and let go. And when that happens, if you ever have an emotional release, I encourage people to just invite that, because that's you letting go of stuff that you don't need, things that you've been holding on to. You don't even need to know what that is. You don't have to try and analyze it. You should just be so grateful and so happy that you're free from that thing that you've been storing in the tissues of your body or in your heart or in your mind, and you're free from it. And so when those openings happen, just let yourself go.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful release, especially in such a safe place. People
Yeah,
sometimes
well, and that's why it's called corpse pose, right? It's because it's dead man's pose, because you allow yourself to go to that state where you're surrendering. It's not a giving up. There's a difference between giving up. People might think that surrendering is equivalent to giving up. It is not a giving up. It's trusting in the nature of things, trusting in yourself, trusting in the universe, trusting that everything is meant to be the way that it is, trusting in life, and that whether it's good or bad or in between, that it's meaningful and purposeful, and that it's okay for you to go through it, and that we should just all be happy learners.
happy.
Like we say
Oh,
in
for love.
in miracles. Yeah. Happy
Yeah.
learners.
And of course, in miracles, I do say that miracles are shifts in perspectives, right? So when you can shift energetically or in your thoughts or in your emotions, that's a miracle. It's a miracle because you know what really upset you before. And if you've shifted and now you can invite it in with kindness and love, that's a miracle that you have let that go.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. Like, we could talk forever, but
Yeah.
I really want to thank you for being on A Call for Love. I think that if people are not into yoga, they might, I would say, revisit it. And if they are already into it, they can appreciate it and articulate maybe why it makes them feel so good. Because I said a long time ago, I was experiencing a lot of anxiety, and the doctor wanted to put me on medication. And I was dating Gord at that time. And I said, well, what are the side effects? And they said, well, you could lose your libido and gain weight. I'm like, that is not going to work. And then I thought to myself, well, what makes me feel better? This is how I got into yoga. And I said, well, yoga makes me feel better. And so why don't I try this first? Sometimes you need to go on medication, but I thought I'd try it first. So I went, and then I increased my classes and classes. And that's how I got into it, because I wanted to avoid, the realm of medication. But
Yoga increases libido and reduces weight. It's true. You did three things in with one.
that's so hilarious. I didn't, well, I should know
You
that, but
cured
I
your
didn't.
anxiety and you kept your libido, but probably made it even better.
Yeah, it gives you more energy. You love your body. You're more mindful of your body. You second guess
Yeah,
or think what you're putting into your body, right?
right.
That's,
Yeah.
that's hilarious. Why did you get into yoga again?
Well, I was brought to yoga, in fact, and then I felt yoga. So I was doing yoga before, and then I didn't do yoga. I had that experience, and then I was brought back to yoga, is kind of how it played out. Yeah.
I think that's the case with many people. My sister tried to get me into yoga when I was like below 10 years of age, and I did not have any part of it. But I think it's something that when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you know what? Like, I think that in our time, like, it wasn't quite as available to us. Like, when I was introduced to yoga, I was going into a metal factory where the woman was so passionate about yoga. She turned her lunchroom into a hot room. And her sons had studied with Bikram, but they were living in California. So they had sent her cassette tapes of Bikram. And so she put a sauna in her lunchroom at her husband's metal factory. And then she was advertising these classes, kind of like, well, she wasn't really advertising. It was more like word of mouth, because you could only really fit 10 people in the class. She put up mirrors. She had her husband do all this, work to this little loft in her, which used to be her lunchroom. And so you couldn't even buy a yoga mat at the time. Like, you can buy a yoga mat anywhere. You go to Walmart, you could get it at the grocery store practically. But you couldn't buy a yoga mat anywhere. We wouldn't know where to get a yoga mat. And so we would go. So Maureen was a part of this, my current business partner, and because she's also from Winnipeg, that's the connection. And so we would go there, and we would practice. We would listen to Bikram on this audio tape. And so that was my first introduction. Of course, I would feel amazing. She would only have classes like 3 times a week. And so, but it would carry me through, and so I had the experience of, what the practice did. But then I moved away, and then there was zero access to, to yoga. But I was doing yoga in other ways without really even knowing it. So my practice didn't end there. I just sort of came back to it, because when I was doing the work, on myself, with the meditation and the visualization and the mindfulness, mindfulness wasn't even a thing back then, but just intuitively, I understood that I had to delve deep into myself, to process the traumas that were there, to free myself from them from the inside.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
inside
then,
out.
of course, yeah. Yeah. And then the yoga again came in, right after that, in fact, just shortly after I had that massive breakthrough. Yeah. And, and I really came to Joe Dispenza's work as well through my own experience, because when he talked about his own healing, that totally resonated with me. And then I started to study his work a little bit more intensely, and it totally resonates. So I'd highly recommend, for people to read his book on becoming supernatural. It can really help to, transform and transmute traumas that are held and stored in the body, in the heart, in the mind of a person.
And I want to really emphasize here that trauma doesn't have to be big, right? There's big T and there's little
Yeah,
t. There could be
that's right.
that you got in a car accident. That is trauma to your body.
That's trauma. That's
Trauma is unprocessed emotions. You could have been younger and you had really wonderful parents, but you couldn't process something properly. You didn't allow the
right.
emotions to go through you.
And half of the time it's unconscious. It's in deep in the psyche. You're not even really, you may not have memory of it or recollection.
Yeah, it's stored. And that's why, for me, meditation has been one of the most profound gifts. And I love Joe Dispenza too, because I took yin yoga teacher training with you, and you had talked about it, and that was my introduction. So thank you. And
Yeah.
I have read his work and I really love him. There are so many really fantastic people.
Yeah.
You just find the
true.
one that speaks to you. And Joe Dispenza has his story, it's
That's
really
right.
powerful.
Yeah. Linda, did you conquer your anxiety?
Yes. Now,
Yeah.
when I say that, what happens is I am prone to anxiety. I think it's actually maybe biological because there's many people in my family about anxiety, which is focused on the future. But what happens is now when I feel I'm going into a state of anxiety, because I am very, very aware of it, because I've really tuned into my body and my emotions, I practice. I go into meditation. I go into a mantra. And right now it's Rama. I use a mantra, which is a repeated phrase, or I do a practice, and then it alleviates. So it's
Right.
not that I have conquered it. It's that when it does arise, I nip it in the butt, so to say, and then it kind of dissipates.
See, yoga is just such a complete system. Like even the mantra, the humming, the chanting, we were talking about the vagus nerve just off camera, but that stimulates the vagus nerve. And when you're stimulating the vagus nerve, that can automatically shift your nervous system from being in that fight or flight mode into rest and restore. And when you're in rest and restore, then all your systems are back online and everything's working optimally. So like I just see these like little glimpses everywhere in every conversation. It just pops up and I'm like, oh, there's yoga. Oh, there's yoga. Oh, there's yoga. It's like yoga is everywhere. And it's just such a brilliant system or a technology. It's like an ancient technology,
I always say when I enter a class, I do more yoga off the mat than on the mat.
Of course, it's yoga all day long.
It's yoga all day long. And I want to actually talk to this for a second about humming, because I do this in my meditation classes. Humming resonates in the vibration because the vagus nerve, vega means wandering, begins at the base of the skull and is the longest wandering nerve. And so when you hum, if you can't do anything, and if breathing is like, done it does not resonate. Hum your favorite tune, and that will massage and vibrate the vagus nerve.
That's right.
It really, it's like a miracle. And I use miracle, it creates a shift. And that's what a miracle is.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, well, listen, I love this discussion. I'm going to add here that I am an advocate for yoga and everything that encompasses it, and self-compassion. And I'm actually guiding a self-compassion mini course at Be Yoga and Wellness at the end of
So excited for that.
April 2024. But I know you have so many offerings at the studio. Is there anything last that you would share? Is there any ask that you would like listeners to maybe invite, or how they can reach you, or any last words of wisdom?
Oh, those are three questions all in one. Um, yes. Okay. So, well, the studio's name is Be Yoga and Wellness. Of course, you go online. There's so many things. We are very, very active. We're active in the community. We're active in offerings, workshops, trainings. Like the next thing that personally I'm working on, super excited on, because like I'm revamping my yin yoga teacher training, and I'm just in the midst of, putting that all together. That starts on April 12th. And of course, it is a local program. At one point, I might make that somehow an online offering or a hybrid or something like that. But like really, I pour every ounce of myself into it, and I get really, really excited. I think of all the things that I dabble in terms of yoga. This is kind of like all encompassing for me, and it just speaks to it makes my heart sing. I just love sharing it, and you can't shut me up about it. So I come into the training just literally offering and giving everything to my students, and I'm just super, super pumped and excited for it. So that's just like one thing that I'm doing. But other than that, there's so much. You just need to go to the website and peruse it, and there's always new workshops, and I have such a great team. I've got a great team of practitioners. I'm always looking for great practitioners too. So because after COVID, we lost a number of we lost people because they sort of moved on to different places, or moved, or their practice shifted and changed. And I'm sort of rebuilding the practitioner side of things. But I've got the people that I do have are amazing. The teachers that I have, and they're always creating new programs to help people heal and just become better people, and to find themselves, and to come back to themselves, and to love themselves. And I absolutely love and support that. I support all my teachers that are constantly creating stuff, and I keep encouraging them to do stuff, and for us to have this beautiful forum and platform to offer it to the community. So they can just go to the website www.beyogawellness.com.
Yes, and I'll
Yeah,
put
and
it in the show
there's
notes.
also a free class too. So there's like a little, you can click on get a free class. We have like a great intro special. We give so much. We give so much to the community. We're also we always have like a community class as well, which is essentially just donation based, and 100% of those proceeds go to local charity. For the past year, we've been really focusing on the doggies. We love doggies. We have
Well,
puppy
puppy yoga.
yoga. Yeah, we have puppy yoga. So the rescues bring in litters. And of course, a big problem with the population in the north and in the reserve areas. And so we're supporting those rescues that are bringing in the mamas with the litters. And then will often have puppy yoga, and they're just adorable. We totally support that and encourage people to come and adopt, because after COVID, so many people adopted babies and then they couldn't take care of them. And so there's also a lot of rescues from people that, can no longer care for the dogs.
And
So,
that's what I
yeah.
love about, I will put the link in the show notes, but that's what I love about this whole concept and philosophy of yoga, because it's not something that we do just for ourselves. We do it to raise our consciousness. We do it for our community. We do it for the planet. We do it for the pets. It's not an isolated practice. So if you are looking for a yoga studio and you're not near Burlington, Ontario, Canada, there are many other studios. And in there, you will find, if it resonates with you, a community that supports living in deeper awareness, healing, love, and kindness for agility, mobility, and flexibility among it.
That's right. There's a lot. There's so much. There's a lot of places that one can turn to. Absolutely.
So I would like to thank you for being on A Call for Love. I think that we have really planted the seed that people will revisit yoga or expand their practice. So thank you, Monica. And thank you everyone for listening to A Call for Love. From my heart to yours, namaste. Thank you for listening. It would mean so much to me if you could share this episode with someone you feel could benefit from its message. And subscribe to A Call for Love podcast to receive new weekly episodes every Tuesday. Head over to globalwellnesseducation.com to learn more.